always liked Kawabunga.
I am a child of the 90s, which means that inevitably I watched more than my fair share of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. A lot of people gravitated towards the cartoons. Personally, I was more towards the video games, but especially those live-action movies. So today, let's look at those movies and let's rank the characters that we find in them. We're also going to include the animated movie that's in the same continuity that came out in the early 2000s as well. There's just a couple characters to throw in there anyway, so I figured, why not? So this tier list is really essentially two videos, right? We have to rank the 4 Ninja Turtles, which could be something in and of itself. We'll try not to spend too much time there, but then we're going to rank all the other characters too. I think that it goes without saying that the 4 Ninja Turtles are all going to be S tier. So it's just going to be kind of like putting them where they belong. So we'll just start off with Leonardo. He's the first turtle. We'll put him up in S tier where he belongs. Now Raphael. Okay, let's just talk. We'll talk Leonardo just a second. He's the leader. He uses 2 swords. He uses katanas, and his color is blue. Leonardo is, I don't know, probably the most boring out of the Ninja Turtles. At least when you're a kid, right? You don't see that depth of like what it means to have to be the leader and everything when you're growing up. So if you do side with Leonardo as a child, it's going to be because he's got the color blue or he's got the swords and you think that those are cool. Now when it comes to the movies, he doesn't really use the swords a ton as swords because it's essentially a movie for kids and he can't just be hacking and slashing people because, again, it's not like in the cartoons, robots that they're fighting. In this, they are actually fighting like real people. I do just want to point out that out of all of the turtles, I think that Leonardo has the most downgrade when it comes from how his suit and everything looks in the first movie compared to how it looks in the third movie. He gets the goofiest faces out of all of the turtles in that third one. But yeah, I like Leonardo a lot, especially his arc that he kind of goes through in the first Ninja Turtles movie. Now, the kind of person who likes Raphael more than Leonardo, I don't know if you want to say that they have anger issues, but maybe they've dealt with some of those things more. A little more hot-headed, a little more temperamental. And these are not bad things, right, necessarily. But they are things that I personally don't identify with. And so I'm going to be putting Raphael in second place below Leonardo. You know what? No, I'm not. Because I do think he's more interesting as a character. I think that he gets to have more growth. And I'm not going to say that Ninja Turtles 3 is good. But I did rewatch it before making this video. And at least Raphael had some moments and I didn't remember, specifically when he's talking like with a kid and talking about dealing with his anger and everything. And I thought that was kind of like a fun full circle moment that they kind of backtrack on once they get to that animated Ninja Turtles. But yeah, Raphael's cool. He's the red one, in case you didn't know. The red one who has like the Sai daggers. Again, not really a weapon that you can use on people too much. And so he does kind of have to just be punching and kicking and everything. Donatello is my personal favorite Ninja Turtle, and so he's going to be going up in the top. It wasn't the color for me. I do like the bow staff as a weapon. You do get to use it, right, actually as intended in these movies more so. Also, in the video games, he's always got the longest reach, and so, get those advantages where you can. I like the fact that he's the smart one. They play it for laughs pretty well. Each turtle kind of gets their own little arcs, in more so than others in different movies. Like in the first Ninja Turtles, and then in the fourth one, you got a lot of Leonardo and Raphael stuff going on. In the second one, you get that Donatello really kind of struggling with, like, are we an accident? Is there anything that is like makes us more important in dealing with all that stuff? And then in the third one, you get Michelangelo. But I also really like the dynamic between him and all the other turtles, right? Especially him and Michelangelo have some fun interactions in that first movie. Speaking of Michelangelo, he's going to go up and land in second place for me. I think out of all of the turtles, he's got the best look. Like, you look at his head in that first Ninja Turtles movie and the animatronic work and like the sculpting of it and everything. I think my favorite. Not to say that any of the suits look bad in that first movie. It is really sad that they look worse and worse. You know, as time goes by, you would hope that they would look better and better, but they did just kind of start cutting all those corners. And once Jim Henson wasn't working on them too, you know, you really do see that difference. You look at a suit from that first movie compared to that third movie, and you can see, yeah, there's a difference there. But Michelangelo, he's the orange one. He's got the nunchucks, which get surprisingly like censored in different countries, which I think is interesting. And he's also the funny one, right? So he's always cracking jokes. It's Cowabunga, that's Michelangelo. And yeah, I mean, the Ninja Turtles are the series, and I think that they really do deserve to be, I think, at the top. I don't think anybody's going to top them. But yeah, let's get to the more interesting parts of the tier list by starting to look at, Master Splinter now. Now, again, he's going to be pretty high up there. I'm going to put Splinter in S tier, below all the Turtles. He does kind of degrade as the series goes on. I think my favorite Splinter is Secret of the Ooze, the second one. He's not captured the whole time. It's not super tragic. He's not beat up and everything like in the first movie, but he's not like almost a complete joke like he is in the third one. The fourth one is like way different because he gets to be more active and everything, not having to be like a little puppet, but instead being a CGI creation. And Splinter in the movie has like a different origin than that of like in the comic books and in the cartoon and everything, where in some of those he is actually Hamato Yoshi, who a human being who was trained in martial arts, but in this movie he is a rat who becomes more human-like instead of a human that becomes more rat-like. And so yeah, he does have his ties to the Shredder still, but yeah, it is a little more, I don't know if it's weird to say anything is realistic or more or less from these, but I think less realistic that it's like a rat who knew ninjutsu and then grew up to be Splinter. And so all that being said, Splinter's a great character. He gets good lines and is like that heart that kind of holds everybody together. Now, April O'Neil, we could split up into two different people, right? Because she is played by two different actresses. You got a different April in the first movie than you do in the second or the third. And then even the fourth one, you got Sarah Michelle Gellar in there. But you got that mom from Halloween Town in that first Ninja Turtles movie. I'm going to put April in A tier. She's good, but she really is just kind of that damsel in distress character for most of the time, right? Like almost comically so even. Like in the third movie, they kind of go to save her as like the incident that gets everything rolling, and then she's not really in danger until like the very end. She's like getting a gun pointed at her head, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot, April, you're here, and that's what's going to happen to you. But she's a good character, strong character. She has some pretty good character development in that first one where she's having to like come to terms with like her whole life falling apart and everything. But I do like April. Maybe she's not quite as strong as she is in the animated series, but yeah, she's pretty good. Now, Casey Jones is an S tier for me, and my favorite non-turtle character. He's played super fun, right? He's broad and just like oozing this 90s machismo, tough guy stuff, where it's like it's an act, right? And it's an act, and you get to see it kind of get washed away with him, like talking about the importance of like what real family is like and everything. Of course, it's all over the top and hammy and whatever, but like I really like it a lot. And I like when he shows up in 3, though Casey Jones himself doesn't really do very much in it, and you do wonder where is Casey in the second Ninja Turtles, but he is just cool. He's got a good look, right? I like a good look. He's got that mask, he's got that long hair, he's got some great lines.
Well, that was a crime, you purse-scrubbing pukes. And this is the penalty.
And it's cool to just see his different relationships with the different turtles and how they interact with each other. Specifically, that scene with him and Donnie working on the truck.
Gilligan was a geek, Barfaroni.
You're the geek, Camel Breath.
The dome head.
So now we can finally get to some characters that we're going to get to put lower. So we got Chief Stearns, the police chief, who is pretty much, all he does is yell at people and is pretty ineffective as a police officer in that they don't know anything about the foot. They're only finding out about it because of what April is doing. He's going to be a D tier for me. Charles Pennington, April's boss, is going to be another D tier. Let's think about the reasons why he's not great. Well, he fires April over the phone, which is just not great, not professional of him, right? Especially for somebody who does such a good job. And he's just doing it because of the pressure from the police. And so, showing not a great boss, not going to stand up for you. So, Charles, come on. He's also not great at keeping track of his kid. He's obviously working too much, and Danny needs some one-on-one time with his dad. And then maybe he wouldn't fall into the trap of becoming a foot soldier, right? Which brings us to Danny. And Danny is... Do I put him in F tier? Yeah, I don't like Danny. Even as a kid, I don't... But okay. We're conflicted. I don't usually feel bad when I put things in F tier. I'm usually pretty sure of it. But he is just a kid. And he does, make up for it at the end. Okay, he'll be a D tier. And you know what? I'm putting him above his dad. Yeah, he's above his dad. Because you know what? Your environment helps mold who you are. And maybe Danny wouldn't be so awful if his dad wasn't so awful. And he does come around, right? He does kind of lead to the bad things that happen, but he helps out at the end. So, all right, Danny. I'm sorry for putting you in F tier. Now, the Shredder gets to be up in S tier because he is just so cool, right? His costume, especially when he's got the cape draped over the shoulder blades, he just looks huge and menacing. And then he's also effective in a fight. I don't know, how you do it, right? Where you have these people in these big rubber costumes fighting and making it look as good as they do, especially in that first one. That last fight with Shredder versus all of the Ninja Turtles just really is, awesome. And his demise in that one, too, super great. The way his character ties in with Splinter's having been the guy who killed Hamato Yoshi, Oroku Saki, super great. And the voice, right? I mean, they did dub him when he has his mask off, but he's super cool. It's rare that a bad guy pulls off purple, as well as the Shredder does, but he does it. Now, to call Tatsu a character might be a bit of a stretch, but him in the movies, I very much like. What a great henchman. He is that muscle where you don't see Shredder fight at all, but you see Tatsu just destroying people. The fact that he's ready to step up and be the new leader of the Foot Clan at the beginning of the second Ninja Turtles, but then immediately backs up as soon as Shredder shows up. Yeah, I just love that. That's great. It's going to be an A for me. Not quite April O'Neil status because, again, I mean, he doesn't talk much, but he does give some great looks. He does a lot of eyebrow and face acting. I only mentioned Sam Rockwell's character because it's Sam Rockwell. He gets to be an F. He's just a kind of higher ranking foot soldier. And that's going to get us through the first Ninja Turtles, which means now we're into characters that are showing up for the first time in Secret of the Ooze. First up, we got Professor Jordan Perry, who works for TGRI, which is the company that produced the Ooze that led to the creation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He is a pretty, prominent British character actor that you see, around quite a bit. I mean, he classically gets decapitated in The Omen, but then he's also in a voice actor and like a bunch of different stuff, including like the Spider-Man animated series. He does his job pretty well in this. Again, it's the second Ninja Turtles. It's not like he's having to, do Shakespeare or anything. But he does a good job of, kind of having some moments with the different turtles. And specifically, again, Donatello having to deal with like his origins and everything. And so, I'm going to put him in C. No, he can go B tier. We'll go B tier for Jordan Perry. But we're going to get another A tier character. He's going to go up above April O'Neil even, and that's going to be Keno, who was actually like the stunt performer in the Donatello suit in the first Ninja Turtles. They liked him so much, they gave him a part, like a real part, in the second one. And he's a pizza delivery guy who becomes friends with the Ninja Turtles and helps them take on the Shredder and everything. And he helps infiltrate the Foot, and again has some great lines. And I really do appreciate that he's kind of like got that, that cartoonish look where he like has one set of clothes that he wears, and that's like what he looks like. Plus, he's also like a surf ninja, and so that's gonna help raise your cachet with me. And so there we go. Keno is gonna be up in A tier. So originally in this movie, they wanted to use Rocksteady and Bebop, but they ultimately decided not to do that. Instead, introduced two other characters that were transformed by the ooze, and they got Rahzar and Tokka. And so Rahzar is like a wolf, and Tokka is like a snapping turtle, and they are the big kind of new threats that the turtles have to fight. They are fun because they act like stupid babies, much to the dismay of the Shredder.
Babies! They're babies!
I'm going to be putting them in C tier because they don't really have like a character, right? And they, by the end of the movie, they're turned back into their original forms. So Rahzar is going to be there, but I'm going to put Tokka just a little bit higher because I like his look as kind of more of a like an evil version of the Ninja Turtles, and he doesn't drool quite as much as Rahzar does, which is always stuck with me as kind of gross. His eyes also don't seem quite as dead as the wolf's. Now this might be a little controversial, but I'm going to put Super Shredder down in F tier because I think that the way they use Super Shredder in the movie is not good and boring, right? So let me just lay it out for you if you don't know what happens in the movie. Super Shredder is when Shredder gets introduced to the ooze and he becomes like super jacked and huge. And so at that point, you've seen Shredder fight the Ninja Turtles in the first movie, right? And so it's the showdown. It's all of them and Shredder. He's huge. He's a monster now. What are they going to do? They literally do nothing. They just stand there, and Super Shredder pushes down a dock that falls on him and kills him, and he dies. The only thing that Super Shredder has going for him is that he played by Kevin Nash, Big Sexy himself. We were big fans of Kevin Nash at my house. We were WCW. But in this movie, like nothing. Like he's a great final boss in like every video game. But here, he's nothing. Now that could be a controversial one, but to me, Super Shredder, F tier. Now this is definitely a stretch calling him a character, but Vanilla Ice does show up. I'm going to put him in D tier.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go! Go Ninja, go Ninja, go!
So you had your first Ninja Turtles movie, kind of like their origin, having to deal with the Shredder and everything, but then you get even more of a look into their background and their creation in the second one. So what's the natural progression story-wise of what you're going to do in that third movie once it finally shows up? That's right, you're going to use a time travel staff to send you back to feudal Japan.
They're back, and they're back in time.
So that's what we do, and so that's why we have so many new characters to look at for Ninja Turtles 3, because everybody else we know is in the future, in present-day New York. Now, Casey Jones, like I mentioned before, does show up, and he's staying with Splinter. He's essentially a babysitter, because when you go back in time, somebody from the past has to come to the future as well, and so he's also making sure that those guys that come to the future don't get into any trouble either. And so April is also in this movie, and she's been sent to the past, and that's really why the Turtles go back. So let's look at these characters that we see in Ninja Turtles 3 and see if any of them are going to get anywhere near the top of this list. The first character is named Whit. And Whit is played by the same guy who is Casey Jones. I don't know why he's played by. I don't know if we're supposed to think that like he is like a descendant, or Casey Jones is a descendant of this person. But it's very confusing for April when she's all seeing him and being like, wait, but I know who you are, but you're not him. And then Whit is also frustrating as a character because I never know whose team he's on. And I think he doesn't know whose team he's on either, because like he'll show up and he's a bad guy, but at the beginning he's getting thrown in jail because he's turned on the bad guys, right? And you're like, okay, well, he's a good guy. Oh, but then he betrays everybody. But you're like, okay, well, that makes sense. He's trying to get back in the good graces of his old boss and get his old job back. But oh no, it turns out he was like a spy the whole time. But then it like turns out that he didn't understand that the guy, his boss who was selling guns, was going to try to use those guns to kill people. And when he finds that out, he's like, well, I can't be a part of that. And so it's like, what did you think they were going to do with those guns, Whit? You thought they were just like going to hold them? And so we have Whit. And where does Whit go? Whit, for me, is a worse character than Vanilla Ice. You got Norinaga, who is like the leader of the empire, or he's like the king guy, right? And he is, I don't know, pretty boring as a bad guy. He wants his son is like siding with the rebels, and he doesn't like that, and so he is trying to fight them and win his son back, but it's all pretty boring. Norinaga, you are also a D tier. Mitsu, though, might be my favorite new character. I think is my favorite new character from Ninja Turtles 3. She is like the love interest of the prince. Michelangelo falls in love with her and doesn't want to go back to like the present because of that. It's cool that she's like the leader of the rebellion, right? And she's very capable and all of that stuff, and honorable, all the stuff the Ninja Turtles want you to be. And I'm trying to think if there's anything necessarily bad about Mitsu, and nothing is coming to mind. I'm happy to put Mitsu in B tier, below Professor Perry. Now, Kenshin is Lord Norinaga's son, and so like he's the rightful heir to the throne and everything, but he's in love with Mitsu, and he is the first character that gets sent back or sent to the future, right? He traded places with April O'Neil. And so he's not involved in the main plot at all, and he's just constantly wanting to go back now, and they're like, you can't go back now yet, right? And so, he's not D tier. Like, I don't hate him, but I don't like him more than Tokka and Rahzar. So there you go, C tier. Then you get Walker, and he's the bad guy, right? You might think Norinaga is the bad guy, but Walker is the bad guy, the guy who sells the guns, and he's bad. I'm trying to think if there's anything particularly good, like the opposite of Mitsu. He's not funny, right? He's not a physical threat. He has birds, right? So I guess he's kind of like Whiplash from Iron Man 2.
I want my bird.
He's an F tier. He's an F tier for me. I'm gonna put him above. I'm moving Sam Rockwell up a little bit, but he's not good. And also like not to like forget, like this whole movie is not very good. It was better than I remembered, but it's not good. 3 is not good. Now Walker has a minion that's named Niles, and he is dumb also. So he is getting wet willied by the Ninja Turtles. That's his reoccurring joke. Goodness, he's not good either. He's even worse. Yoshi. I'm gonna put Yoshi as the top. Yoshi, you can go C tier. He is Mitsu's brother. He develops the friendship with Raphael that I mentioned before. He's got like anger issues, and Raphael is kind of walking him through like how to not like succumb to all of those things, which is, I don't know, kind of cute. It's kind of fun. As far as kid actors go in these movies, or not just these movies, but these kind of movies, he's not great, but he's not like so bad that I'm like, oh, get that kid off the screen or anything. The kid has a couple good scenes where like he makes you feel bad, like in a good way, like he's supposed to. So yeah, I'm gonna feel good C tier for that. Now, one of the worst characters, even villains of any of these movies, is Grandfather, who is, you know, Mitsu and Yoshi's grandfather, and he's like secretly keeping the Ninja Turtles back in feudal Japan because he wants them to fight, so that Mitsu and Yoshi and all of like the other people don't have to. So like he's totally ready to sacrifice your boys so that these people don't have to fight for like their own cause. Messed up. Grandfather, you're gonna go below Whit. And that gets us to the end of the live action Ninja Turtle movies. They're just two characters that I want to mention, who I think are the only real characters in the animated one. There's a couple like bad guys that show up. The first one is Max Winters, and he is the voiced by Patrick Stewart, so that's a good thing. But he's, again, not a lot else. Like he's a kind of like an eternal being who wants nothing more than to get rid of, like, well, I guess I don't want to spoil maybe, but like to like collect these monsters to open this portal. I'll put him in C tier underneath Yoshi. It is a shame that they didn't get the sequel to this movie, because I think it would have been cool to see Karai and the whole Foot Clan stuff kind of continue on, but it didn't happen, so we got to kind of go off this. She's working as a minion for Max Winters. Doesn't really have a lot of character development, but she does show a depth that the Foot Clan didn't have before, right? Where they would work with the Turtles to accomplish something that is, you know, the greater good. So I'll put her top of C tier. And there we go. There's our Ninja Turtle tier list. Do you like the Ninja Turtles? What's your favorite version of them? Are you a cartoon person? Are you and if so, which version of the cartoons? Because there are a million of them at this point. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And, you know, again, let me know below. Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle? Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle side character? Appreciate you being here. You take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye.